Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today as we come to you live from Mendocino College campus. Today is the 5th and final installment of the Fall 2024 Wellness Workshop Series. And today's topic is making good food choices through the holidays, which will feature Azucena Chavez Huerta, an engagement leader from the Mendocino Blue Zones Project.
First, we'll introduce ourselves, and as we are today's co-hosts, whatever. I'm Lisa Larimer-Burtis. I'm the Mendocino College Health and Wellness Counselor and Coordinator, and I just want students to know, this is my tagline for this semester, I just want students to know that mental health therapy is free if you're enrolled. And I'm excited to bring a variety of speakers and information to students. And we would appreciate any feedback at the end of the workshop on the content today and on which topics you want to see in the future. So feel free to provide that information. Tasha?
Thank you. Yes, and my name is Tasha Wetzel. I'm the Learning Disability Specialist here at Mendocino College. In my position as a professor, I work with the Disability Resource Center by providing Learning Skills Lab on Ukiah campus. I also work with students interested in accommodations in their college courses based on their verified learning disability. And I assess students for learning disabilities and teach appropriate study and learning strategies to students on our campus. All right, and we're going to go ahead and get started. For the next 20 or 30 minutes, we'll be talking with a special colleague from Mendocino College. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will address them towards the end of the discussion. With us today, we have Azucena Chavez Huerta. For the past 3 years, she has led and implemented healthy activities around the Blue Zones Power 9. Azucena's background is in the Mendocino County Health and Human Services and Community Wellness, including CalFresh, tobacco control, tobacco retail licensing, and oral health programs. In her roles with the Blue Zones Project, she has dedicated her time building relationships with schools, social organizations, tribal communities, policymakers, and health organizations in Mendocino County. And in this role, she has developed nutrition classes at schools, for family resource centers and after-school programs. And as a mom of 3 children, she understands the importance of nutrition and obesity prevention. Her passion is working with youth and families and how to live a healthy life with a focus on eating foods that nourish your body, mind, and being active. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here today. Tasha and Lisa, thank you for this opportunity to share some ideas on how to make good food choices through the holidays, with a special focus on those original Blue Zones community, those centenarians that a plant-based diet and live the happiest and longest lives you could possibly find here on Earth. So I'd like to share more about them, their diets, and how to use that through the holidays so that we could nourish our body and our minds, and not only enjoy the holidays with family and friends, but also try to keep away from gaining additional pounds, like we tend to do during the holidays. So that's our goal for today. I do want to talk a little bit about the Blue Zones and share a little bit of our story. If you could move on to the next slide. As you, I don't know if you know, but I've done a lot of work with Mendocino College and the staff and students there. This is a picture from, I can't remember what last event was. Maybe it was Dia de los Muertos. I can't remember, but these are all the people who participated in the activity. If we could move on to the next slide. I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsor, Adventist Health. That is the reason that we're here and able to do this work. And we're going to skip a couple of slides. Oh, there we go. Thank you. This is our local team. On the left-hand side, that's me. Next to me standing is Lucy Bartolomeo. She's our public policy advocate, excuse me. Next to her is Michelle Hutchins. She's our organization lead. She and Isabel, who is right next to her, are some of our newest employees here for our Blue Zones team. Isabel is our event and engagement specialist. Next to her is our summer intern, Victoria Hernandez. And our executive director is Tina Tyler O'Shea. And then finally, we have Michelle Duarte, who is our senior and office specialist. The uniqueness of our program is that we normally work with one city when we do this project, but Mendocino County is quite unique where we're, instead of working just with Ukiah or Fort Bragg or Willits, we're working with all of Mendocino County. And that's the team that does all the work from one side of the county to the other. So we're a small team, but we are very mighty with the work that we do. We could go ahead and skip this activity for now.
Okay. All right.
It'll go through the whole thing. Why are we doing this work? One of the reasons, well, some of the reasons that we know that our work is important is because 69% of Americans are overweight or obese. Our environment does not help us live a healthier or encourage healthy behaviors when it comes to food or even activities that we do, indoors or outdoors. And what's really scary is that we're becoming more lonely, more isolated. And we know that loneliness is just as unhealthy for us as smoking a whole pack of cigarettes a day. It really does kill. And so if we could advance to the next one. Mendocino County is really a reflection of those stats that we saw as a whole nation. More than 2/3 of our community are overweight. We don't eat enough fruits or vegetables, and we don't exercise enough. Part of the reason is because we don't feel safe in our own neighborhood. So it makes sense that why 50% of our community doesn't feel safe enough to go get outside and exercise, right? But we definitely want to change that with a big focus today on what we're eating and how we could take those lessons from the foods that were eaten in the original Blue Zones and apply them to today's life. And we could go ahead and forward to the next slide. To share a little bit about how it all began, you'll see here in the white area, that's Dan Buettner. He is a National Geographic Fellow. And about 20 years ago, he was tasked with putting a team of researchers together and exploring the world to find where people were living to 100 years or longer. And that's exactly what he did. He found these 5 areas throughout the world, and he asked them a simple question: what is your secret? They come to learn that as far and widespread as they were, these people shared 9 commonalities, and there was really no secret. Their environment was built in such a way that they had to move to, it made it for them so that the way that they were living was extending their life without that being the main purpose. They didn't have access to better medical coverage than we do, better doctors. They didn't have as many resources as we do here in the States, yet they were living way longer and happier than we were. And so if you advance to the next slide, these are the commonalities that they discovered throughout these Blue Zones. If you go one slide back before we move on to this one, there should be a map. Or no map? It's okay. It might be behind the next one. Go ahead and go to the, these are our Power 9. So the original Blue Zones are Okinawa, Japan, Ikaria, Greece, Sardinia, Italy, Nicoya, Costa Rica, and we have our very own Blue Zones community here in California, Loma Linda, California. And when they asked that question, what is your secret? They noticed that they shared these 9 commonalities. And that's part of what we're bringing into Mendocino County so that we could also live longer and healthier and also become a certified Blue Zones community. So that team of, now we're up to 6 people. We no longer have our intern Victoria, but we're a team of 6. We're working with all of Mendocino County to implement these activities so that we could affect our life radius and really, as a whole, start being a Blue Zones community. We're going to focus a little bit on moving naturally because this is the first step that they saw in each one of these communities. And moving naturally can be different things, from going on hikes, walking with a group of friends, walking your dogs, to dancing, to gardening, even doing your chores at home, washing dishes, cleaning the floors, vacuuming. That's all part of moving naturally, right? And then we have right outlook. We know that people who, in each one of these areas, excuse me, they really have a purpose. And having a purpose can extend your life at about 7 years to your life. And it is so powerful when you live with that purpose that you tend to not only live longer, but the way you learn, you think, it really changes, right? You learn better, you retain information better when you're living with that purpose and implementing it on your daily life. Downshifting is really important too, finding a way to reduce the stress that you have in your everyday life, because stress creates chronic inflammation, which is tied to a lot of most age-related diseases. So just downshifting, one of the Blue Zones, Nicoya, Costa Rica, they take a siesta during the day. And they do about 20 minutes. If there was a study done that if you at least take a 20-minute nap, that really helps reduce a lot of these age-related diseases. Particularly, it affects our heart. It reduces heart conditions by about 40%, taking a 20-minute nap every day. So it's really important, and we tend to not give ourselves that opportunity. And then another important part of it, and is really connect, is the foundation upon which all these prior principles really rely on. Feeling a sense of belonging to a faith group, and it could be just any social group, really. So belonging to a soccer club, belonging to a volleyball team, baseball team, or being part of a religion or a religious group. And the denomination does not matter. What matters is that you feel like you belong to that group, whether it is spiritual, whether you believe in God. Nature is that part of you that believes in something higher and that believes that you belong. Putting your loved ones first is really important too, and you'll see that repeats in every one of our Blue Zones communities. And then we call it the belonging and positive pack, which are very tied together. But our main focus here today finally is eating wisely, and we have 3 areas where we really focus on. We don't ask anyone to change their diet, but we do encourage everyone to add more fruits and vegetables and legumes to their diets and nuts, because there have been shown time and time again that it improves our well-being. And then we have the 80% rule, or Hara Hachibu, which is a 100-year-old mantra that is practiced in Japan So right before they sit down to eat, they recite this mantra, which reminds them every time, eat until you're only 80% full. And then having those meals with family or friends, we call it Friends at Five, shows, we're again building community, connecting with those people that are important to us. And then if we could go to the next slide, there's our life radius. We're going to go, well, let's talk about our life radius a little bit, because this is important. This is where we spent 80% of our time, right? Where we live, where we work, and where we learn. And as I said, we have a organization lead who works with places such as schools, work sites, restaurants, grocery stores, and they create activities that will allow our community to have access to healthier choices in each one of those areas. And Lucy Bartolomeo, which is our policy lead, is working with 3 different areas around built environment, tobacco, and food. And then finally, the work that I do is engagement with our community members through personal pledges, our moais. Lisa, you were part of one of our walking moais, and you still are running that, right? Kind of, sort of.
Right.
Well, kind of, sort of going. And then we also do purpose workshops. As I said, we know the importance of having a purpose and living with a purpose. And I also create volunteer opportunities throughout all of the community. And we have this big volunteer celebration in April where we invite all our volunteers and we celebrate them, just to say thanks for giving your time to improve our community.
Susana, can you give an example of an individual pledge?
Yes, they're very simple. So we have a whole list of individual pledges. And the first one, I believe that's on that list, is adopting a dog and taking it out for walks, right? The companionship that you get from having a dog and being outdoors with them, it's huge. And it can be as simple as putting your shoes, right, your walking shoes, in your car before you go to work, so that when you're at work, you could just quickly swap into your walking shoes and take a quick walk during your break or your lunch. It's kind of what you guys were doing, Lisa, during your moai. You could also put them by the front door so that when you pass by it, you're reminded that, oh, hey, there's my shoes. Let me go for a walk, right? It's simple activities like that is really simple. And you go and you do, okay, I'm going to start with these 3 activities. And I'm going to make a pledge to myself that I will do this every day, every other day, depending what it is, right? Starting a garden, working on your garden every day. It's a commitment that you do to yourself, for yourself. And then if we could go to the next slide. Oh, here's the map of the original Blue Zones. And it's really interesting. We talked about Loma Linda, California, right? They're one of the original Blue Zones. And they are right in the middle of everything that everyone that lives in the US is exposed to, pretty much. They have those, ads that say, come and eat at Taco Bell, McDonald's, all this unhealthy imagery that is being thrown at us. They're exposed to that as well. Yet they're living about 12 more years, good years, than everyone around them. So why? And food has a big impact on that as well. So if we could go to the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit of how to eat, like to live 100 years and what they eat in each one of these communities. And one of the important things to take away from this, and on everything that I have always read about eating healthy and making good food choices, is how we eat, right? There's that saying that says, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. Well, you will see that the more you learn about each one of these communities, the original Blue Zones, you will see that that's exactly what they do. In most cases, some of these areas, for example, Loma Linda, California, might eat a very small dinner or skip it altogether. Such in the Okinawans, they also do that. They have a small dinner or they skip dinner altogether. And that helps a lot, right? We try to loading up and those calories at the end of the day when we're less active is what makes us sometimes gain more weight because we're not burning those calories off. So it makes a lot of sense. We're going to go ahead and start with Nicoya, Costa Rica. And what you see here is a list of some of the foods that they like to eat in this area, some of the most popular foods in Nicoya, which are papaya, banana, mango, squash, cabbage, corn, but they also eat a lot of beans. They do have a high their diet really does consist of a lot of beans. And one of the important things about the Costa Rica or Nicoya is the way that they share this food with their families, right? And one of these really cool stories that comes out of here is based on a man, a centenarian by the name of Faustino, who lived with his son, his grandson, and great-grandson. So 4 generations in one house. And what was really cool about him is that every Sunday morning, he would get up early in the morning and walk to El Mercado, their version of the grocery store, and purchase food that he himself would make for his whole family. He'd make a Sunday dinner. And he walked for miles with his son and his grandson to purchase to the market to purchase everything that he needed for his meal. During the Sunday meals, they did eat meat, but people tend to eat in each one of these blue zones the size of a deck of cards. So if you can imagine that, that amount per meal of meat. And meat is usually used on those special occasions or reserved for special occasions. And so Faustino would go with Don Faustino would go with his kid, his son, his grandson, and purchase all this food for his meal, his dinner that he would make. And he knew every single person at the market. When he went to buy the meat at the meat market, they knew him by name. He was like a celebrity. He was celebrated every one of these places. So he really belonged to this community, right? We are already seeing the Power 9 in play here. So I just thought that was a really cool story that came out of there. And we do have these recipe books that Dan Buettner has written in. This is the latest one. And we have a lot of recipes from the original Blue Zones and newer Blue Zone communities in the Americas out of that one. But this is the original recipe book that he came out with.
Okay, can you do me a big favor again and give me those again?
The name?
Yes.
Okay, so this one that I'm holding, the
I'm
Blue
sorry,
Zone,
one more time.
the one that I'm holding is Blue Zone's Kitchen by Dan Buettner. And the other one is the Blue Zone's American Kitchen. And so these recipes, the American Kitchen has a lot of recipes from the America Blue Zones communities. And the original book has recipes that come attached to each one of these stories. So Don Faustino, and I don't remember, I may have his name a little, I should have looked it up before. I'm going by memory. He shares one of the recipes that he uses for his Sunday dinner. And what's really important to remember is that these communities did not have a lot of resources. So the staple food that they use is very affordable here in the US as well as where they live. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the island, the Icarian in Greece. And we're going to move on to how much, let's focus a little bit more on the foods that they ate. So their staple foods were artichokes, onions, pecorino cheese, which is made out of sheep milk. And so they also cook a lot with olive oil. They have these gardens which they plant themselves, and they use a lot of herbal teas. And they do drink red wine as well, but their drinking is very moderate, and they only drink most of the time they only drink with family when they're having those dinners. And the same with Nicoya, Costa Rica, and Nicoya. They do have a drink or two, but it's usually during dinner and enjoying it with their family or friends. And if we could move over to the next slide.
And Susanna, we have just a few more minutes left, so I wanted to just let you know that.
Okay. So for Sardinia, Italy, I want to read the items that they have. And then we have Okinawa, Japan. And again, food and family and friends is a great area of how they come together and enjoy each other's company over those foods. But today, what I wanted to share with you guys is one of the recipes that has come to us, and it's very simple. And this is taking into account that eating like a king, right? And I know many of us as students, as staff, teachers, professors, some of you have a very long commute where you're commuting from Fort Bragg to Ukiah or maybe to Lakeport. And so you have to pretty much take your whole day with you. So I thought that one of these original recipes from the Blue Zones would be very important, especially during the holidays. It's something that you can use. If you have a nice strong meal at the beginning or breakfast, it'll keep you a little bit fuller, right? And it'll help you make better eating decisions. Instead of going for the piece of cake, you could maybe take a smaller piece because you feel already a little fuller. Instead of eating a whole candy bar, you might, be full enough that you could eat a little bit of candy here and there. So I want to share with you guys a recipe out of the Blue Zones. And if you skip to the next slide, Tasha, you see where it says the top 10 Blue Zones breakfast ideas? Can you go to that site? And then we're going to go ahead and scroll down a little bit. Keep going. This is another idea, just some really great ideas, but we're going to go to that strawberry vanilla shy pudding. And we're going to do a quick demonstration of how to do that. I have all the ingredients here. So we're going to use almond milk, and you really can use any type of milk that you want. And this is, so you could customize this to your favorite things that you like to eat. So we have the chia seeds. Let me move everything so you can see. We have vanilla and ground cinnamon. And then we have some maple syrup. And in this dish, we have some, I don't know if you could see them very well. I didn't want to thaw out the whole bag, but we have some frozen berries. So it's a good combination of different berries. And so we'll start, it's a really simple recipe. We'll start with the milk. Then you add your chia seeds. Normally it says half a cup plus 2 tablespoons of chia seeds. So I'm going to have to So my little my thing has measurements. So what I'll do is I'll just measure about a cup on here. And then we want to go ahead and mix it really well. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of vanilla. Oops. About 8 teaspoons of vanilla. And some ground cinnamon. For the ground cinnamon, it says about half a spoon. And then you're going to add your maple syrup. It says 3 tablespoons, but you can really add as much or as little as you like, depending on your taste. And then you just mix really well. You could add the berries now, or you could store this. It takes at least an hour for this to really get all combine and turn into a pudding. But if you leave it overnight and then in the morning, you could add whatever it is that you like. So I'm going to add some berries, and these are frozen berries. So it has blueberries, blackberries, and strawberries, and you could chop them up if you want to. And so it gives it a really nice look. And then in the morning, all you really have to do is get up, eat it quickly, or take it with you and eat it on the way. And you can meal prep like this. And this is not the only recipe. As you saw on that list, there's several other recipes that really help you meal prep and make it really easy for you to get up early in the morning, get up the next day and just grab what you need and go. And so
I think I have both of the cookbooks in my office. So if a student is interested in accessing the books, I have them.
good. And then one other thing that I was gonna do, Lisa, is I was planning on doing a little Blue Zones corner near the student, what is it called?
The nest, the eagle's nest.
Yeah, the Eagle's Nest, and just have you know, the recipe book, and students can just go take a copy of it. And or if you would like to learn more recipes, and they're right on our website, well, on the website for bluezones.com. They're free recipes. They're always changing, and it really helps you. You could search an ingredient that you have, like let's say potatoes. I want a recipe with potatoes, and it'll give you a different recipe. So it's really easy to use, and you could always reach out to us at bluezonesproject.com, bluezonesproject.mendocinocounty.com, and, you know, ask for different recipes, or come and talk to us when you see us at different events. And we always carry recipe cards with us, or at least we try to. But that was just a really quick idea of how to choose those healthier options for the holidays. So, I mean, if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions, Christina? Valentina? We have put the evaluation in the chat, just FYI. I am wondering, Azucena, are you planning on coming out each month on our food distribution days and doing food demos? Is that in the works?
That is, we're going to continue to do that at the Ukiah campus, and we want to do something similar to that in Fort Bragg if we can, and Willits. But we're going to continue doing those activities.
Okay, yeah, and let me know how I can support the
Thank you.
presence on our campuses.
Yes, you know, it's so much fun going there and doing the work, the cooking demonstrations and the other activities that we do. But our work that we do is definitely, I think that making those good food choices, it makes a huge difference in our well-being physically and mentally. When we don't nourish our mind correctly, we can't think. We can't show up to the best of our abilities. So I think that learning to make these quick and easy, inexpensive dishes can really make a big difference during the holidays and the rest of the year as well.
Great. Thank you, Azucena, for joining us today. And audience, we would enjoy your feedback from about this workshop, and the evaluation link is in the chat, as I said. And we just thank you for giving us the feedback. Our intention is to have this video on our YouTube station that has yet to be kind of brought online. So we have a whole semester of workshops that are just kind of waiting for this project to conclude so that we can get them all up there. In the meantime, the information is available, and Azucena, you pointed out Blue Zones Project Mendocino County has a lot of great information on it, and we're so grateful for you to come and visit us today.
Thank you both, Tasha and Lisa. I appreciate you for giving me this time.
Yes, and have a good holiday.
You too.
Okay.
Happy holidays, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, Azucena.